Our friends and neighbors, all our guests to come to this meeting. All of our meetings are open and open to the public, and we're welcome to have, we're glad to have you and welcome each and every person who's come. The first order of business on our agenda is the roll call. Sheila.
Yes, sir.
Would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Nichols.
Here.
Commissioner Landis.
Here.
Commissioner Swain. Commissioner Whitney.
Here.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Phoenix. Chairman Hudson.
Present. We have a quorum here today. The Planning and Zoning Commission makes recommendations to the City Council. All items approved today will be heard by the City Council at its regular meeting on Wednesday, August the 25th, 2021, commencing at 9 a.m. If you received a notice for this meeting, you should also have received a notice for the City Council meeting. Subdivision plats are approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission solely unless there is a request for waiver of escrow fees or construction. Only the City Council makes financial decisions. If an item is denied, the applicant has 10 calendar days to file a written appeal with the Planning Department. The appeal will then be acted upon by the City Council. If you're here to speak for or against an item when that item is called for review, please state your name and address for the record. Comments should be limited to 5 minutes or less, although extensions of time may be granted by the chair upon request. At the conclusion of our regular workshop, our regular meeting, we have a workshop, and that will not be today, but it will be August the 17th at 1:30 in the Development Center across the street at 423 West Ferguson in the large conference room. That meeting, like all of our meetings, are open to the public if members of the public would like to attend. The next item on our agenda is minutes from the last council meeting of July 6, 2021. Is there a commissioner who would like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from July 6, 2021.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve those minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a pretty extensive agenda today, but we have a highly professional staff and a great group of commissioners here, so we'll try to move through these items as quickly as possible. And the first item on our agenda is A21-003 Spirit of Texas Bank 4171 Frankston Highway. Thorani?
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and good afternoon to everyone present here. In tandem with this case, I'm also going to be presenting the following item on the agenda. That's PD 21016, because both are for the same location. That's 4171 Frankston Highway.
Hey, Thorani, pull the microphone down, please.
Can you hear me now?
A little. That's better. That's
okay.
Better. Thank you.
This is a voluntary annexation of approximately 1.54 acres of land. This is lying adjacent to the present city limit boundary of City of Tyler. This is located at the northwest intersection of Frankston Highway and County Road 1114. This request is also considering recommending the new boundary of city limits and also new boundary of the City Council District 2 in the new boundary of the Tyler extraterritorial jurisdiction. The city manager be authorized to sign a written agreement for this same as well according to the local government code, and also the future land use guide for this property to reflect general commercial. Also, original rezoning of PCD, which is our planned commercial district with a site plan for the 1.54 acres that I've mentioned. That's the location, that's the aerial view of the property. And let me go to the site plan. The applicant is requesting this is a zone change that is to PCD. If you look at the map, you can see that the half portion of the property is zone C2, that is general commercial, and the other half lies outside the city limits. That's what they're requesting to annex. So the entire property now is being requested to rezone to PCD, which is planned commercial district with the site plan. The property to the north and east is zoned, or zone C2, and the property to the north is in location of the Spirit of Texas Bank, and the property to the east are undeveloped. To the west is C2 and also outside the city limits. They are in location of the East Texas Brick Company. The property to the south is outside the city limits. They are in the location of a car dealership. If you look at the future land use guide, this is inconsistent with the future land use guide. It identifies the area as mixed use center, and this would be inconsistent with the requested use. This is the site plan that was submitted. This proposes a 16,000 building. This is for the development of an auto vehicle paint and body shop. The setbacks proposed are 10 feet in the front, 15 in the rear, and 15 in the side corner, and 0 in the interior. Parking is provided for the employee parking, inventory spaces, and also for customer parking. All other regulations, including landscaping, dumpster screening, and everything else would be pertinent to the UDC. There's also a 6 feet tall chain link fence at the west side of the property, and there's also a 30 feet easement, water easement that's running through the western part of the property. Out of the 8 notices that was sent, none was received in favor or in opposition to the request, and staff recommends both the annexation be approved and also the site plan PCD be approved.
Thank you, Thrani. Is this the one that you, or is that the next one, Mr. Reed, that you have to?
Then, let's see, be the one after the next one.
Okay, but
Yeah,
this one's okay.
This one's okay, yes, sir.
All right, Thrani, thank you very much. Any questions for city staff? All right, I have one card here from Jack Zanger. Mr. Zanger, you care to address the commission?
Yeah, I'm Jack Zanger with Triangle Engineering. I'm here to represent the project and just wanted to be available if you had any questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Zanger? All right, thank you, sir, for your time and presence. Are there any other persons here who would like to speak on this item, for or against? If not, is there a commissioner who would like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, do we need to address them individually, or can we do collective?
We're going to vote on these separately.
These separately?
Thrani's discussed both the items, but I think we'll vote separately. So we're going to address A21-003 first, and that's the one that I'm calling for a vote.
Okay.
A motion and a vote.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve A21-003.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item is approved. Next item, Thrani has already discussed, I believe, the PD 21-016, and this is the actual zoning change for the development of this property. Are there persons here who would like to address this item at all, for or against? If not, is there a motion to approve this item?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve PD 21-016.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. Next is Z21-026. Is that your?
No, sir.
Not this one?
Yep, number 4, number 5.
Okay. 4 and 5.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Thank you.
For those
Next item is Z21-026 Tyler Park Hill Ventures.
For those of you who have not met, I'm Caleb Matenk. I'm a planner with the city. I'll be presenting the next 3 items on this agenda.
Great, Caleb.
Okay. For case Z21-026, this is a proposed zone change from C1 light commercial to PUR, planned unit residential. This is found west of the southwest intersection of Gwynn Farms Road and Roans Quarter Road. The applicant is requesting the change to develop single-family homes on this property. The property to the north is zoned PCD and is developed with a landscaping company. The properties to the east and to the south are in Zone 2 of the City of Tyler ETJ and are otherwise undeveloped or developed with single-family homes. And the properties to the west are zoned PUR and are also developed with single-family homes. The future land use guide describes these properties as neighborhood commercial. This request would amend the future land use guide from neighborhood commercial to single-family, medium, and low density. The applicant is requesting the zone change to develop 10 single-family attached and detached homes with a maximum density of 8 units per acre. The building setbacks to the front would be 10 feet if rear loaded and 20 feet if front loaded. Rear setbacks are 15 feet with side setbacks of 4 feet if not attached. The site narrative proposes a maximum building height of 42 feet, and the use and other standards are consistent with R1D zoning. Of the 17 notices that were mailed out, 1 notice was returned in favor and none were returned in opposition. Staff has reviewed this request and recommends approval.
All right, Caleb, thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions for city staff? All right, if there are no questions, I only have one card, and that is from Mr. Nix. Mr. Nix?
Just questions, Chairman.
Let the record show that John Nix, 1515 Jeff Davis Drive, is here and available for questions. Any questions for Mr. Nix? If not, is there any other person who would like to address this change for or against? If not, I'm sorry. Is there a commissioner who'd like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve item Z 21-026.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. All right, the next is C 21-011.
Yes.
And this is an item that Mr. Reed will
Yes.
excuse himself.
Yep. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recuse myself from PD 21-012, and then also C20, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me.
C21.
The next item, whatever the next item is as well. I apologize.
That's okay. C21 and 001 and PD 21.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that correct?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, let the record show that Mr. Reed has left the room. The next item is C21-011-860 Royal Hills LLC. Caleb?
All right. For this road closure, they're proposing a recommend closure to unimproved portions of Delmar Street and Juniper Lane. The applicant is requesting the closure of these portions in order to develop the property with single-family homes.
All right.
The applicant is requesting the zone change to replat the right-of-way into adjacent properties. The applicant plans on developing the properties with single-family homes. Of the 25 notices mailed, no notices were returned in favor, and 1 notice was returned in opposition to the request. The opposition was generally opposed to the development as a whole, and more specifically mentioned concerns with traffic, noise pollution, and safety concerns. Staff has reviewed the request and recommends approval of the closure of the right-of-way, subject to the right-of-way being replatted within 6 months.
All right, Caleb, thank you. Any questions for city staff? If not, I have some cards persons who would like to speak on this item. The first one is PD 21-012, Melody Clifton. Would you come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please?
Mr. Chairman, this request is connected to the next one. Would you prefer that we present the next item and do it together?
Sure. I'd really prefer to do them separate, but,
Oh.
but I always defer to the city staff. So Caleb, let's talk about the next one too.
Okay. Yes, so this is PD 21-012. This is the plan development that is going in conjunction with the road closure. This is located at the southwest intersection of West Dobbs Street and South Palace Avenue. It's also adjacent to Golden Road. The applicant is requesting the zone change to develop single-family homes on the property. All of the adjacent properties are zoned R1A and are developed with single-family homes or are undeveloped. This request would be consistent with the future land use guide, which describes the property as being single-family, medium, low density. The applicant is requesting the zone change to develop single-family homes on the property. The applicant is proposing to develop 55 single-family homes with a maximum density of 3.49 units per acre along private streets. In 2019, a portion of this property was requested to be rezoned to PUR, which would allow for, the proposed use was 13 duplexes. Nearby residents were concerned that that form of development, being duplexes, was not consistent with the character of the area. The applicant is now proposing single-family homes, which is more in line with the surrounding uses. The building setbacks for the property would be 20 feet in the front, 15 feet in the rear, and side setbacks of 5 feet and corner setbacks of 15 feet. The site plan also proposes a privacy fence along the northern most properties and a common forested area running in between the property. Of the 61 notices that were mailed out, 1 notice was returned in favor and 5 were returned in opposition, which has a protest calculation of 13.86%. The opposition's concerns were primarily regarding the character of the neighborhood, as well as traffic, safety, and utility concerns. Staff has spoken with other members of staff, primarily utilities, and has addressed some of these concerns and doesn't believe that these concerns present an issue.
And the staff's recommendation?
Sorry, yes. Staff has reviewed this request and recommends approval of the PD 21-012.
All right, thank you. Just to make sure everybody understands, there are 2 items here. One is a street closure, which will incorporate property incorporate the right-of-way into the property for development purposes. The other is changing the zoning from R1A to PUR. Those 2 items fit together, and that's why the staff recommended we discuss them similarly. So, and Melody, I'm sorry, now it's your turn if you'd like to speak to us. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Melody Clifton, and I live at 2623 South Bolt Avenue. And when this first came out, I was very opposed to it because of added traffic, the noise, pollution, safety of people, because we use the road to walk on and everything, the street. But after speaking with the developer and the builder, and one of my other main concerns was the green space, the trees. I was worried about those and the creek being changed. But we were told that it's going to stay and remain as is, and the green space is going to be kept that full, and my view will still be the same from my home. And he was also saying that because it's changing from the single family to the PUR, because the houses are closer together, that's what allows all of that green space to stay as, thick and full as it is for that reason. to give those families something to enjoy. At first I was against it, but now I'm thinking it's okay because eventually that place is going to be developed and the next developer might want to just clear off all the trees and we'll not have anything. So, I mean, that's my thoughts.
All right, well, Ms. Clifton, thank you for your time and presence here. Any questions for Ms. Clifton? All right, again, thank you for being here. The next card I have is from Dr. Charles Blakestow. If you'd state your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. I'm Dr. Charles H. Blakeslee, Jr. I live at 2107 Parkway Place, which is basically around the corner. Myself also was opposed to the previous idea of having multifamily units, apartments, if you will. My concerns initially were, I don't want this, I don't want to see this, but I must commend the developers that they took into consideration the people and the character of that neighborhood rather than the bottom line. You could have put another 25 houses in there if you just said, we're going to clear cut it, level it off, and build. So they definitely listened to the people that were there that had conversation with them. So I'm in favor.
All right, thank you, Dr. Blakestow. Any questions for this witness, commissioners? Again, thank you for your time and presence. I also have a card from Ed Snodgrass.
Yes, sir.
Ed?
Ed Snodgrass at 2026 Republic Drive. We're the engineers of record, so we're here to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions for Ed? I have a card from Joel Jacobs. If you'd state your name and address for the record.
My name is Joel Jacobs, and I live at 2231 Debbie in Tyler. And my main problem is erosion. We have so much erosion there, it's unreal. Even with a drain pipe being put in, an extra drain pipe being put in, there's 55 new homes that could be put around that area. They're going to be on concrete. They're going to be taking away absorption. They're going to take away trees. They're going to take away the grasslands there, anything that would absorb. We have a major, major absorption problem. Our neighbor, in fact, my immediate neighbor, her entire fence that she put up about 10 years ago is being eroded. And every time it rains, every time something happens, more erosion occurs. And she gets back up into her house a lot of times, too. When they did put a drain pipe in at one time, but where they stopped was right before our properties. They stopped at 2223 Debbie. And there's this big, horrible looking drain pipe sitting there right now that garbage flows through and water flows through all the time. And in our yards, it gets kind of mushy toward the end of the yard because the water flows up through it. The creek there keeps on meandering, and also our neighbor can hardly walk in her backyard toward the end of it because it's always muddy from water or from erosion. And we've had multiple trees that fallen on our fence. So someone would come out and maybe take it off our fence, but then they just dropped the logs there, and during the winter when we had that storm, one of the trees fell. Okay, someone came to cut it up and just left it there. I mean, it was still in the creek. It may have been cut up, but it was still in the creek. So the creek goes around it and erodes a little bit more of everything. Needless to say that when construction crews come out and start doing their contracting, they throw everything around. Sure, they clean up little areas, but most of the time they just dump, and they're going to dump into that creek. It's pretty obvious where it is, and that creek's going to get a lot of the stuff dumped into, make it even worse for more erosion. even with pipeline, this pipeline that they're saying that they're gonna put in, a pipeline will take care of some of it. But with all the concrete and all the trees missing, the absorption is bad. And trees will continue to fall even afterwards, because when you play around with trees with their roots, they will start falling again. Basically, that's our main problem. Traffic is gonna be a problem. I understand that traffic probably doesn't make much of a difference to you all. But when you think of all these homes, and at least 2 cars for each home, that's another 100 cars plus coming out of the street, flowing into Golden Road. It's hard enough as it is in the mornings to get past there. You have to wait quite a bit sometimes. But again, like I said, that probably isn't your major problem. But our major problem is erosion, and it can cause problems. And then again, too, I want this plan that R1A, I do not need to see any apartments, rentals, or duplexes in that area, because it would change it would just change the format of the entire place around. Basically, that's it.
Ms. Jacobs, thank you for your time and testimony. Would you help us and show me get some help to show me exactly where your house is? Kyle, Caleb,
Goodness.
which houses?
Oh,
It's on Debbie.
this is Debbie Drive right over here,
Right.
and we're at 2231. There's Eileen. We're probably right about here, and then Eileen cuts in over there. So they're going to go around this way, all of Debbie over here, and we're right about here. And that's right there, right after 2223. There's this big, horrible-looking drain pipe sticking out there. My husband put up a little picket fence in front of it to try to, so the aesthetic value, this to keep it away from there. But of course, that doesn't do anything for drainage. But it's a constant thing. And if they were to come in and basically make the area there a little higher or something, but I think that would erode too because of the creek. The creek is a major problem. And the creek is going to get wider and longer and bigger, and because nothing's ever been done really. And when you dump more water into it, especially if that big drain pipe there, it does pose a problem.
Okay, thanks for sharing that with us. Any questions for Ms. Jacobs? All right, again, thank you for your time and presence here today. Those are all the cards I have on this item except for Mr. Priestner. Mr. Priestner, you want to help us here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark Priestner, Planning Concept 3815 Old Bullard Road. Can I turn this on?
Somebody really had to zoom in there.
Okay, I'm going to address a couple issues. So as the city presented, this is a change from R1A to PUR. Part of the reason in doing so was to protect that creek area and make a buffer in there. The way it's platted now, and the reason, Mr. Chairman, these are kind of combined together. So the platted lots, there is a subdivision plat for that property, for half of the property. If you look at this portion right here, the platted lot or the platted street comes out and comes down through here, and this one connects all the way across to here. So under the current plat, nothing up here would be left at all. That would be street and houses through the entire thing. So in going to the PUR, we're changing it to 55 lots, but the density is just slightly changing. It's the average density over the whole thing is 3.8 units per acre. It's slightly higher on the west side than the east side, but that's still in the same realm as the 3 to 4 that is what's considered low density single family. in looking at the drainage, that is one of the things that will actually improve with development. This has been an undeveloped lot. There's been some dirt work out there. When the city did a drainage project up in here, as the neighbor was correctly stating, that drain pipe stops right here, and it's a 36-inch, so it's a 3-foot pipe that just stops. So there is a lot of erosion that's happening right now. As part of this development, it will be picked up and taken to the creek. So it will stop that erosion on that north side. The developer is placing a privacy fence along that entire distance through here. So all of that fencing will be fixed. The erosion will be taken care of, and that will help in the long term. As far as traffic, I want you to look at the total numbers. You know, as we start looking at the total number of lots, and again, we're comparing it to the R1A and what's allowed to be developed. So as proposed we're talking west side first, this is east side, west side. So we're proposing 42 lots on the west side. If developed with R1A, that's 39 lots. So what are we talking about total count? When we look at the difference between the two, we're adding 29 vehicle trips a day, 3 vehicle trips per peak hour. So that's what's being added to the west side. On the east side, we're actually reducing the trips down. It's 18 fewer trips per day, 4 fewer trips per peak hour. So the net between the two is 9 fewer daily trips, 1 fewer peak hour trips. But I would really look at it as a west side, east side, because we're cutting off the access between the two. What that also does to the neighborhood to the back, and really this one to the north as well, is there won't be any through traffic coming across here as a cut through from this area to here. Part of this project will be constructing, there's one segment of street that hasn't been built, there's 2 dead ends. So this will connect a public street between these two. So we'll give this area access out, but back to the more dense part of McDonald's. So what it does is it really kind of saves this area and creates this permanent buffer. By going to the PUR, that places that green belt and buffer in place. So if we approve this PUR with the site plan, nobody can come in and tear it out where they could right now as R1A. So we feel, given the total numbers and the traffic, we're relatively the same as far as the density and numbers of units. So in creating that buffer, we're kind of helping that drainage. We're keeping the creek in an extended area in a natural state. So all of those trees in the creek, and instead of covering all that up and mowing it down, it saves it and puts it in place. And as a PUR site plan, the only way to change that in the future, so that the fear of the duplex or anything else would take a full council action to change the site plan. So we feel it helps kind of solidify what we're proposing and alleviates most of those fears and issues and puts it in the site plan. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
All right, any questions on this one?
Mr. Priestner, did y'all meet with some of the, because I mean, this has come up before, did you meet with any of the neighbors?
Yes, we've talked to some of them. We have not talked to all of them, but we've addressed where we could the concerns. So, we're going to continue to talk and open dialogue all the way through council, because we feel this is a great project. Again, as we talk to the ones that are most impacted, we're doing everything that we can to make this better. And again, once development occurs, this property will get developed in some form or fashion. The reality is the sooner you get it done, you really do improve drainage and things like that. The erosion gets taken care of. But, nobody wants new development in their backyard, and we get that. But we're trying to save as much as possible and keep that pine curtain backdrop throughout that whole creek, which kind of helps both sides.
Well, I'm sure you know how important the community is to this commission and to the entire city.
Yes, sir.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Priestner? Yes, ma'am. If you have comments, please come to the microphone. Oh. And just state your name and address for the record.
I'm Pat Clem, 2224 Debbie.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask the gentleman, how many streets is he planning on coming out onto onto Golden? Golden, we've been in this courtroom before on this same matter, and Golden is a cut-through. And while figures and things, we live there, and I can guarantee you, trying to get out on Golden, and particularly when you come out of Debbie, which is going to be right next to where they're going to build, there's a hill coming like this. There's another hill coming up here. You've got a stoplight here, and you have a four-way stop right here, which makes it extremely difficult. And I can tell you this, that the traffic on that road, it's 30 miles and 40 miles. I chased a kid doing nearly 60 miles an hour, trying to get him to pull over on Golden Road, and that's not an exception. It's a straightway. We've got a school at one end, and they're cutting through everybody, I don't know. But the traffic is a nightmare. And if you're going to put 54 houses, you can count on 2 cars to every house. And if they've got kids, teenagers to drive, you can count on more cars than that. And I can guarantee you, trying to get out on Golden Road is a total nightmare. And I do it every day. So I don't know what your facts and figures are saying, but I live there, and I know that this is the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and presence. Call the Tyler PD. Those are the only cards that I have on this side. Is there any other person here who'd like to speak? Yes, sir. Come to the microphone, please, sir.
Scott Pierce, 2232 Martin. I'm one street over from Debbie. Pat, I never thought you'd catch me too. I was really worried.
I'll do it next time.
I know. You'd have beat me. All right. I'm usually here throwing a fit about stuff, frankly, and have often spoken against development in our neighborhood. It was always multifamily things that were coming at us, dumpsters and duplexes. And what's before us is kind of what we've always asked for in a way. We've asked for single-family, owner-occupied houses. The truth is, right now, the lot is a mess. It was ruined by, they dumped 7 feet of dirt on it when they put that hotel in. No wonder there's problems now. I guess I had 2 questions, one for the committee and one for the engineer. So I share the concern of my friends on Debbie about the erosion. If we put the pipe in, is it going to fix it? That's the question. Are we going to have, what about surface water? I mean, I understand the pipe takes the water off the street, but what about surface water just coming in? Or what's it going to look like in 5 years? Is it going to be washed out? That's my question. I maybe would address that to the engineer.
Sir, let me just share this with you. That's really an engineering.
So it's not appropriate here? I mean, I don't want to say it's not appropriate.
It is and it isn't, and I don't have an answer. And okay. So we'd refer you to the engineer.
I guess I would offer my conditional support to the project if I felt like my friends on Debbie were going to be taken care of as far as the erosion. So it would depend on that. If they were going to take care of my friends on Debbie with regard to the erosion, and if they're going to put up a nice privacy fence, and if they're going to save all the trees they can, I would offer my conditional support. One other question I have. PR means they've got to build this picture, right? They can't move away from the picture.
Not without coming back and going through this process again.
All right. Okay. if that's the case, if they're gonna take care of my friends on Debbie with regard to the erosion, and if they have to build the picture that they've drawn, I would offer my conditional support for this project. I'm not speaking for the neighborhood. I have in the past. Right now, I'm speaking personally. Like I said, the lot is a mess right now, and in a somewhat ruined state. I think it may be the best deal we're going to get. As neighbors, and so with that in mind, I do want to offer my conditional support for that. So.
Well, thank you, sir, for your time and presence. I think the commission understands your comments, and I'm sure the developer does as well. Any questions for this gentleman?
I don't, but I have a question directed back to city staff. Just for the benefit of all of us, could you go over, if this is approved, then what role does engineering play going forward with this project?
Yeah, so the zoning question is the first step of it, to kind of lay out the proposal and land use and layout. And so with a PUR, I mean, you get a little bit of you get some foresight into perhaps the way it might be engineered, because this has been reviewed. The applicant does have an engineer on their team, and so some of those things have likely already been discussed on how they're going to do that. Otherwise, the layout may not look like this if that wasn't possible. So the next phase would be the engineering of the site. That gets reviewed, or that has to be prepared by a civil engineer, and then we have engineer on staff to review it to make sure it's consistent with our city ordinance. And so that would be the next step. After that, if there is an issue with how that's going to play out, and if there is going to be an issue with the site being engineered appropriately to convey the water, then that would either the plan would have to be reworked, or that couldn't be done.
Are you content?
I really felt like it would be nice for some of these residents to hear the process.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can you recap?
Ma'am, come to the microphone if you want to. We're glad to hear what you have to say.
Okay. Can you recap what you just said at the end? It was kind of hard to understand what you were saying. Towards the end, when you were saying, okay, if they keep the engineer and it stays this way, what did you say after that?
Well, what I'm saying is, if it can't be done in accordance with the city ordinance, then it's not automatically approved. And so approval of this layout or the site plan or zoning does not necessarily mean that the development will be approved. There may still be work that needs to be done to review how the engineer is going to work. I think since the applicant does have an engineer on their team, that may have already been reviewed, and they may have a plan for it already. And once they have that, or when they submit that to the city, we'll review it and make sure that it's compliant. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'd like to ask a question.
Just state your name and address for the record, sir.
William Wood. I live at 2301 Debbie Lane, the last house below the Jacobs. And I get a double whammy on the erosion. They're talking about fixing the back, but my front property the curb stops at my house. I mean, I don't have no curb at all. It's coming across, it comes down that big hill, big, and it comes across my front yard, and it's washing the front out terribly too, compared to the back too. So I wonder if they'll help me on the front of mine, maybe build a curb or put rock or something in there to keep that water from washing my front yard out.
Again, those are questions for the engineer, and they're here today, and I'm sure they've heard your comments.
Yeah, because it's washing up. Y'all had to come cut it on the easement. A tree done fell, it landed in one of my trees, and if it wouldn't hit that tree, it would hit my house and it would jerk the lines out. But fortunately, y'all did come take care of it because it's on the city's easement, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
On behalf of the city of Tyler, you're very welcome. Are there other persons here who wish to address these zoning items and the right-of-way closure? If not, we're going to deal with these, vote on these items one at a time to make sure the record's clear. The first one is C21-011, and this is the street closure and replatting of the right-of-way. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve C21-011.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item's approved. Next is PD 21-012, and this is the zoning change from R1A to PUR. Is there a commissioner who'd like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve PD 21-012.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. I'll just pause for a minute and I'll ask Mr. Reed to come back.
Not having any of that.
All right, the next item on our agenda is C21-010. Gail Noble, Susan Standifer, and Jill Shelton. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, committee members and everyone in attendance. My name's Nathan Doherty. I'll be presenting the next 4 zoning cases and 4 plats. The first item is C21. It's C21-010. It's a portion of Fisher Drive, and this closure is also aligned with PD 21-13. It's R1A to a PUR. And referring to this closure, the applicant is requesting the closure of a portion of Fisher Drive. And the applicant is requesting this closure to, they plan to build a gate for the PUR and also replatting the right-of-way into adjacent properties. There were 4 notices mailed, and 2 notices were returned in favor and 2 in opposition of the request. And the opposition had concerns about increase in traffic and people also using their properties for a turnaround. The traffic engineer has reviewed the request and has no concerns with the closure. Staff recommends approval of the closure of the right-of-way, subject to the right-of-way being replatted within 6 months.
All right. Despite my earlier comments, I want to deal with the next one as well, PD 21-013.
Oh, too close. Okay. All right, PD 21-013. They're requesting a zone change from R1A to PUR. This is for 1201, 1210, 1211 Fisher Drive. And they're requesting a zone change to develop single-family homes with a gated private street. The adjacent properties to the north, east, west are zoned R1A and developed with single-family homes and undeveloped lots. The south is zoned PUR, a planned unit residential, and is developed with single-family homes and an undeveloped lot. The future land use guide, this is consistent with the future land use guide. It's single-family, medium, low density. And the applicant is planning to build 17 single-family homes with a proposed density of 1.9 dwelling units per acre with a gated private street. The proposed setbacks for lots 1 through 4 and 7 through 17 are 25 feet in the front, 25 feet on the rear, 7.5 feet on the sides, and 12 feet on the street sides. The proposed setbacks for lots 5 through 6 are 20 feet in the front, 20 feet on the rear, and 7.5 feet on the sides. The maximum height is 42 feet. There will be 2 parking spaces per unit. Signage, landscaping, and sidewalks will meet UDC regulations. Access to Lot 3 will be from Fisher Circle, except for during construction. Access will be from Robertson Road. And there were 24 notices mailed. Of those 24 notices, 3 were returned in favor and 2 were in opposition to the request, for a total protest calculation of 14.13%. The opposition had concerns with drainage issues, the placement of the gate, traffic flow, and the placement of utility lines. The traffic engineer has reviewed the request and has no concerns with the closure. The drainage and utility issues will be addressed in the later phase of the project. And staff recommends approval of this plan development.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Doherty, I have one question, and it has to do with the protests. They were talking about people turning around in their driveways and that kind of thing. Well, with this gated community, it appears that there's going to be staging areas and then also a turnaround as well. And so it sounds like to me that turning around in people's driveways is going to be cured or helped to a minimal extent. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that
Okay.
is.
You go back to the site plan. No, go back.
This one? Right, there. On the left, or the west side where Fisher will dead end there. So there'll be staging and then also the ability to turn around as part of the
That's right.
the private drive.
That's right. The UDC requires at least one stacking space or one space, waiting space for every 10 lots in the development. So this has two spaces for cars to wait to get into the gate,
Okay.
and then after that first, essentially the access part there. If they're denied access, they will have a turnaround there. You can see it here. Turnaround showing enough space to get back out if they have to.
Right.
Any like fire truck or trash, solid waste truck will have access through the gate. And so if they need a wider or another space to turn around, they can continue in and then come back out.
Okay.
Or any other questions for city staff? If not, I do have some cards. One is on both of these items. Mark Sajak, is that?
Yes, sir.
If you want to come forward. State your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. Mark Sajak, 1222 Fisher Drive. And, originally, I think I put 4 main concerns on writing in. Have not gone through the process before, so it's all kind of new to me, kind of trusting the process here. We actually met with Chad and Sherry yesterday, and a lot of those concerns that I had were put to rest, okay? I think good communication is very important for us. And upon meeting with them yesterday, I can just see, personally, I felt much more comfortable with this whole situation. And again, trusting the process that yes, the drainage is one, it was a common denominator, and I think it's a common denominator that you'll find amongst all the people in red here, or at least a lot of them, is the drainage. Mm-hmm. And so the plan that you have with respect to the drainage, I think is an excellent one. And again, trusting the process that the engineer looks at it and verifies everything looks good, I think that you'll find a lot of these concerns going away, if you will. So that's pretty much all I have to say on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from Mr. Sajak? If not, thank you, sir, for your time and presence. I also have a card from Chris Foreman.
Same.
All right, let the record show that Chris Foreman of 1230 Fisher Drive was here and expressed the same concerns that Mr. Sajak expressed. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, and I have a card from Chad Hanna.
Mr. Chairman, answer questions.
Let the record show that Chad Hanna, 2229 South Chilton, is here and available for questions. Any questions for Mr. Hanna? All right, are there other persons? Those are the only cards I have except for Mr. Priestner. Any question, any other comments from any person here? Mr. Breedlove?
John Breedlove, 1227 Fisher. And I'm just really basically agreeing with our neighbors that we had a great conversation with them last night and they answered our questions. Of course, I'm agreeing with Mark. We would, assuming that the engineering agrees with his engineer on the drainage, which that is a big deal, especially on my lot. But they've assured us that his engineer says that if they do the plan that they've got on the holding pond, and that people downstream and my lot will be not affected adversely. So with all that being said, if y'all agree with them, then we'll agree with it.
All right, John, thank you for your time and presence. Any questions from Mr. Breedlove? All right, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mark Priestner, Planning Concepts, 3815 Wood Road. I'll be super quick.
Take your time.
Like they said, the most important thing on the drainage, we have to meet the TCEQ standards. So, we can't impede any upflow stream. We can't increase any downflow stream. So that will be worked out as we go. And there is going to be some extensive engineering on that, but that will be part of this next process. The thing I want to point out on this, what we're developing as far as the number of lots, these average in size from 1/3 of an acre to 6/10 of an acre. It's consistent with how Colonial Hills is developed to the south and as well as that existing neighborhood that's kind of to the northeast. The section of the right-of-way that we're closing is not improved. What you see on the aerial is just, there's a gate and it's a driveway coming out of it. So the current street right now ends at that gate line. In doing the gate, we can provide that turnaround, as you pointed out, and it will have Knox box. It's got to comply with all the city regulations for gated subdivisions. So in the end, the traffic ends up being lower because we're talking about less than 2 units per acre on density. So we're talking about a really low dense on the development. So we think it's a great development. It's a gorgeous piece of property, and we think it'll be an attribute for that area. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from Mr. Priestner? All right, Mark, thank you for your time and presence. Those are the only cards I have on these two items. Is there any other person who would like to speak for or against or ask questions? If not, we're going to vote on these separately, or I'm going to ask that we vote on them separately. The first one is C21-010, and that's the street issue. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve C21-010.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item's approved. Next is PD 21-013, and this is the actual change in zoning from R1A to PUR.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
No,
I made the
please
motion
go
that
ahead,
we
John.
approve PD 21-013.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this zoning change. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. Thanks to everybody who was interested in this for your time and presence. The next item is C21-012, Bellwood Loop 323. Let's wait until folks excuse themselves. Okay.
Yes, C21-012 Bellwood 323. The applicant is requesting the closure to replat the right-of-way into adjacent properties. Currently, the property is owned by Bellwood 323 2019 LP and is vacant. There were 2 notices mailed. 1 notice was returned in favor and 0 in opposition. And staff recommends approval of the closure of the right-of-way, subject to the right-of-way being replatted within 6 months. And this case is also in relation to PD 21-015. This is a portion of the area being requested to be closed. So PD 21-015 Bellwood 323. The applicant is requesting the site plan amendment to develop commercial uses on approximately 4.53 acres of land. They're planning to build 2 quick-serve restaurants. The adjacent properties to the north and east are zoned PCD and are undeveloped lots. Adjacent properties to the west are zoned M1 and developed with a warehouse. It's Sudden Link and a medical facility, Francius Medical Care. And this use is consistent with the future land use guide. It's a mixed-use center. The applicant is requesting the site plan amendment to build quick-serve restaurants with drive-through service windows on 3 lots. And Lot 4 of Bellwood Edition, Unit 1, the proposed setbacks for Lot 3 and 4 are 10 feet from the street right-of-way and 10 feet from the side and rear yards. The maximum height is 45 feet. There will be 82 parking spaces provided for Lot 3 and 59 parking spaces provided for Lot 4. Signage, landscaping, and sidewalks will meet the UDC regulations. And there were 2 notices mailed. 1 notice was returned in favor, and there were none in opposition to the request, and staff recommends approval.
All right, thank you. Any questions for city staff? If not, I have 2 cards from Mr. Rossman. Brian, you want to come share with us?
Brian Rossman, Lang & Adams Engineering, 1101 East Southeast Loop 323, Tyler, Texas 75701. Just here to answer any questions you all may have. This has been a long time coming. And I have to take my engineer's hat and put my community hat on and say, it's time. So, good developer, he's here. But if you have any questions about this one or any of the 4 that we have before you today, we're happy to answer them.
All right, Brian, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Rossman? Brian, just stick around for a minute. Any questions? Yeah, I guess the only question I had, Brian, is the Earl Campbell, you know, was projected to go out in this direction, and so it's on the south side of your development. I'm just assuming that all of this development will be on the north side of what was projected for Earl Campbell. Kyle says it is. Kyle nodded his head.
At this time, I mean, I'd be happy to put the developer up here and he can answer that for you. It's a very large tract of land, 545 acres. At this time, the 2 lots that are before you are on the north side of Earl Campbell extension. Yes, sir.
That's the only question I have. Any other questions?
Yeah, Brian, I was just noticing that drive-through layout.
Yes, sir.
Since it's 2-lane and stacked like that, is that Chick-fil-A?
No.
I mean, that's a lot of cars.
I'm hungry.
You know where my curiosity comes from. Anyway, I know you can't start.
Commissioner, I could tell you that we would hope so.
Yes, sir.
Oh, maybe it is.
Well, I will say that that was one of the comments from that district, was that they were hoping there would be more restaurants. I
There are some
remember that.
excited people,
Yes.
Commissioner, in that whole part of town. None other than probably most excited was the superintendent of schools. So, anyway.
I think he was excited because he got a brand new Juicy's right down the street from him. So it's right there now.
I know
It's time, as I said.
I know some people at Tyler Junior College that might be excited too.
Absolutely. It's rewarding to have been through this project with our firm for decades now, and to see it come to fruition for the good of the community, the increase of the tax base, and all of the things that will go on, particularly rooftops and support. But again, that's not my realm. I'm in the engineering realm, so I'll leave that up to the developer. I think you've got a card from him. Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time and presence, Brian. Those are actually the only, we have some cards on the plats, but on the zoning items, those are the only 2 cards I have from Mr. Rossman. Are there other persons here who'd like to speak on this item, for or against? If not, we'll vote on these separately, and the first one is
Yeah. 1, 2.
I can't read it. I can't read this. The first one is C21, no. Yeah, PD 21-0, no? C21-013. I'll get it right after a while.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a recommendation we approve C21-012.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Items approved. Next is, let me see if I can do this by myself. I may be able to. PD 21-015.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve PD 21-015.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve that item. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we do have 4 plats to deal with. Are these all consent plats, or are we all? But please walk us through them. We got plenty of time. I thought we'd be here till 4 or 5. But.
Yes, sir, they are, all staff comments are addressed, and staff recommends approval of the 4 plats.
Okay. The 4 plats are P21-028, F21-015, F21-063, and F21-091. And just for the record, I have cards from Mr. Rossman, from Dorothy Parks, from Stuart Fink. Any of y'all like to speak on these items? All consent.
If you have questions, Mr. Chairman, happy to come to the microphone and speak.
Are all consent agenda items? If there are no questions for the applicant or the engineer or the developer, is there a motion to approve all 4 of these plats?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the 4 plats listed.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve all 4 of these plats that have been listed as a part of a consent motion. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? God bless America. I thought we'd be here for a lot longer, but we're not, and so we're adjourned. Congratulations to everybody. Thank you.